On a busy city street at night, a thought reflects that certain things can cloud one's rational judgment. In a dimly lit alley, a black-haired man corners a nervous brown-haired girl, sipping beer with a straw at a gathering. The girl panics internally, realizing she knows no one, and questioning her own odd habits. Across the table, a man with his hair tied back sighs in exasperation, while the girl thinks he doesn't understand her predicament. He argues it would be weirder for a transfer student to already have connections, but she sighs, lamenting the struggles of an outsider. A friendly girl with wavy red-orange hair strikes up a conversation, noting she's a new face and asking for her major. The brown-haired girl happily introduces herself as a directing major, thinking with excitement that she might finally be making a friend. The red-haired girl, Jiang, introduces herself but then abruptly slumps forward, having passed out mid-conversation. As a pot of noodles bubbles, her friend reminds her that he advised her to join these drinking gatherings from the start of the semester. Elsewhere at the party, a group of students enthusiastically raises their beer mugs in a toast. The scene shifts to an establishing shot of the prestigious D-Art University, a school for Korea's top art prodigies. A testament to the school's reputation, a successful graduate is shown happily accepting a golden trophy. Back at the party, the brown-haired girl rests her head in her hands, dejectedly wondering if her goals are too hard. The man with tied-back hair correctly guesses her worries stem from her sophomore project, which she miserably confirms.
Her face drains of all color as he casually tells her to do a rough job, remarking that she looks like a fourth grader.
Enraged, she slams her fists down, declaring her fierce desire to do well and earn recognition from her peers and professor. He calmly advises her to cast a skilled actor with a great face, assuming that describes most acting majors. Jaeyoung suddenly wakes up, surprising everyone by adding that some actors are simply on another level. A voice from another table suggests they should just try to get the popular Kwon Jae-ha. The scene cuts to the popular student, Kwon Jae-ha, who is surrounded by people fighting to sit next to him. Kwon Jae-ha is clearly the center of attention, with the narration explaining that everyone wants to be involved with him. A past news article reveals his identity as the son of famous actor Cheon Yoon-soo and the top student in his department. An old, viral video of Kwon Jae-ha's top-ranked audition is shown, which silenced public suspicions about his university acceptance. During an interview, he humbly states that acting should be built from the ground up, a lesson he learned from his seniors. The flashback ends on a simple, charming portrait of Kwon Jae-ha's smiling face. Back in the present, the brown-haired girl asks her friend Min-hui if she sounds crazy for wanting to cast Kwon Jae-ha in her project. Min-hui bluntly replies, "Of course," before asking if she's realized how hopeless her chances are. He relentlessly lists the reasons it's impossible, asking if she has any connection to Kwon Jae-ha or if he even knows she exists. Frustrated by his harsh but true words, she chugs her beer while he coolly states that facts are always harsh. Kwon Jae-ha suddenly gets up to make a call, and the girl watches him, realizing he's stepping out alone. Seeing her chance to finally make an impression, the brown-haired girl gets up to follow him. Filled with determination, she declares to her friends that she is going to seize this opportunity. Outside, she searches for him, but stops short, overhearing a woman's voice ask, "Did you sleep with her that night?" She peeks around the corner, instantly horrified, and realizing she shouldn't be eavesdropping on such a private conversation. The woman is questioning Kwon Jae-ha, who simply smiles and replies that he doesn't remember. Slap. In a flash of fury, a woman strikes him hard across the face. The dark-haired woman furiously accuses him of betrayal after she paved the way for his debut. Unfazed by the accusation, or the slap, Kwon Jae-ha just smirks defiantly. In the alley, Kwon Jae-ha walks away with a different woman, who has long black hair and striking blue eyes. Wah! He suddenly grabs the blue-eyed woman from behind in a tight, startling hug. He spots the eavesdropping girl and explains he was just getting a room for his friend, who had nowhere to stay, much to her relief. Tap. He releases the woman, sternly reminding her to answer her phone on time. As the blue-eyed woman walks by, the brown-haired girl quickly pretends to be on the phone, muttering about getting fresh air. She nervously peeks back, wondering if they saw her and whether Kwon Jae-ha has also left. "Hey," a voice calls out, and she looks up to see Kwon Jae-ha leaning against the wall, looking right at her. "Whoa," she yelps, completely startled by his sudden appearance, while he remarks on her reaction. When he asks what she's doing, she awkwardly claims she came out for a smoke, a lie he sees right through. Trying to change the subject, she compliments his acting skills, to which he gives a cool thanks. Taking her chance, she boldly asks him to join her second-year project, stating directly, "I want to cast you." He remarks on her boldness, and she nervously apologizes while insisting that the matter is extremely urgent. Kwon Jae-ha startles the brown-haired girl by stating he's a really picky person.
He pins her against a wall, lifting her chin and asking if she can handle what he'll be asking for.
He reveals his shocking condition. He needs help with romance acting and proposes they date. He then gently kisses her hand to demonstrate, asking if she understands now. He repeats his question, asking if she thinks she can do it, leaving her stunned. Wah! She rips her hand away in a flustered panic, shouting for him to wait a second. She clarifies if he will really be in her project if she helps him with romance acting, amazed by his acting ability. He confirms with a simple, smug "yeah," leaving her speechless. The girl enthusiastically agrees, insisting the role is perfect for him, while he coolly notes her determination. Extending his hand, he smoothly asks her to seal their deal. PF it. He bursts into laughter, clarifying he wants her phone, not her hand, but cheekily adds her hand is nice too. Winking, he holds up his phone, ready to exchange numbers with her. The scene transitions to a quiet, empty street later that night. The girl enters a dark apartment, calling out uncertainly, while thinking that artists are truly a different breed. She lets out a terrified, A-A-C-K, as a woman in a horrifying face mask appears, asking why she's home so late. The girl apologetically explains there was a school event and promises to be quiet so she won't wake Kyungmin. The woman, revealed to be her aunt, chides her to be more considerate of her cousin, Ji-eun, who is studying for exams. Entering her messy room, Ji-eun lets out an exhausted sigh. She looks at her university jacket, reminding herself that she can't afford to get on their bad side. Staring at her computer, she resolves to nail her second-year project presentation, especially now with Kwon Jae-ha involved. Filled with new motivation, she types furiously, declaring to herself, "I can do this." Elsewhere, a long-haired boy leans his head back, completely drained. The next day, Min-hui finds a lethargic Ji-eun at a cafe and tells her to get it together before her presentation. Re-energized by coffee, Ji-eun declares she's awake and hangover-free, prompting Min-hui to observe she seems to be in good shape. While eating cake, Min-hui asks if she's prepared, and she confidently announces that she has secured an actor. As a blonde-haired student walks past their table, Ji-eun proudly tells a curious Min-hui that she cast Kwon Jae-ha. The blonde-haired student glances back, having apparently overheard their conversation. Min-hui scoffs in disbelief, asking if she's dreaming, but Ji-eun confidently states she secured the casting last night. Still skeptical, Min-hui questions if Kwon Jae-ha even knows the project details, but she assures him she sent the file in advance. Min-hui presses her, asking if she's sure he agreed, and she confirms, adding that she even set conditions. She blushes, remembering his romance acting proposal, and confirms that it was part of their deal. Her train of thought is broken when she spots a group walking past the cafe window. Her eyes widen as she sees Kwon Jae-ha among the group, who smirks as he looks in her direction. Realizing their eyes have met, Ji-eun waves at him with giddy excitement. Kwon Jae-ha simply smiles and turns away, continuing on with his friends. The blonde-haired student from before approaches her table, apologizing for eavesdropping. He drops a bombshell, revealing that Kwon Jae-ha was just cast in a fourth-year graduation film. Ji-eun and Min-hui are stunned into silence as she mutters that it can't be right. Her anger flares as the blonde student adds that Kwon Jae-ha even had a meeting with the professor that very morning. The scene shifts as Ji-eun determinedly walks towards the stage in an auditorium. As she approaches the podium, a narration explains that Daehan Arts University is infamous for putting immense pressure on second-year students. A panel of 3 serious-looking professors watches her, ready to judge her presentation. Now wearing glasses, Shin Ji-eun formally introduces herself and her second-year project. She presents her plan to create a music video for a new song she authored for an indie band. She describes the video's theme as unrequited love and teenage struggles, set during a humid summer. 2 of the professors look at each other, with one commenting that her concept sounds pretty intense. Ji-eun explains the project requires a main cast of 2 males and 1 female, with a protagonist who is both precarious and refreshing. The blue-eyed woman and a man in a brown suit arrive at the presentation room, with the man remarking on how seriously the second years are taking their projects. The man notes that Ji-eun's project seems solid, prompting the blue-eyed woman to ask if he's interested. The blue-eyed woman scoffs at the idea, stating that from an actor's perspective, a fourth-year script is obviously the superior choice over a second-year project. The man in the brown suit gloats about being cast over a second year, asking the blue-eyed woman if she's jealous. At the podium, Ji-eun feels her presentation is going smoothly as she prepares to introduce the artist. But her heart stops as she sees the projector screen is filled with corrupted, unreadable text. A wave of panic washes over her as she stares in wide-eyed horror at the technical disaster. Students in the audience whisper in confusion, wondering if it's real and if the font file got corrupted. As Ji-eun stammers an apology, the blonde-haired student smirks and gives a mocking, slow clap. A professor on the panel sighs with disappointment, wondering how the students could have been so unprepared. Flushing with shame, Ji-eun miserably concludes her presentation, convinced that she is completely doomed. A male student takes the podium next to Ji-eun, calling for volunteers from various departments for her project. The call for volunteers is met with absolute silence as the classroom remains hauntingly empty. With no one responding, the moderator announces they will recruit separately, leaving Ji-eun utterly humiliated. Just then, a voice from the back calls out, "Me," and a stunned Ji-eun looks up. Kwon Jae-ha rises from his seat and raises his hand, calmly introducing himself as an acting major. He rests his chin on his hand, offering a cool, confident smile that captivates the room. Ji-eun glares back with suspicion and distrust, not falling for his charming act for a second. The narration explains that the moment Kwon Jae-ha raised his hand, the entire dynamic of the room shifted. The blonde-haired student excitedly volunteers, then prods a reluctant Minhui to raise his hand as well. A group of girls whispers to the student in the bucket hat, asking if he's really just a second year. The moderator quickly closes enrollment for the project and announces a 10-minute break. Ji-eun clenches her fist victoriously, imagining herself successfully fishing her new crew, thinking her mission is done for now. Walking away, she wonders about Kwon Jae-ha's motives but decides that just having a team is enough for now. In the hallway, Kwon Jae-ha emerges from a room with the blue-eyed woman and the man in the brown suit. The blue-eyed woman suddenly grabs Kwon Jae-ha's arm, stopping him in the hall. She furiously confronts him about messing up the fourth-year project, and he apologizes for not telling her sooner. The man in the brown suit smirks, delighting in the unfolding drama between the two. Kwon Jae-ha coolly dismisses her, saying she doesn't need to cast someone as lacking as him. As the blue-eyed woman turns, she spots a shocked Ji-eun emerging from the presentation room. Deciding to flee the awkward situation, Ji-eun turns to run, but Kwon Jae-ha calls out her name. She makes a break for it, but Kwon Jae-ha quickly strides after her down the hall. Wah! He catches her in an instant, wrapping his arm around her shoulders and asking where she's going. He cheerfully wishes the blue-eyed woman luck on her project, while a flustered Ji-eun bows and stammers her support. Kwon Jae-ha proudly leads Ji-eun away, his arm around her as he calls her director. The blue-eyed woman watches them go, thinking Kwon Jae-ha is fearless, while her companion smiles, saying he likes them. At their first team meeting, Ji-eun bows to her newly assembled crew, excited to start working with them. The team, including Kwon Jae-ha and Minhui, applauds to kick off their project. Jae-eun formally introduces herself as the head director and states they'll begin with introductions and script distribution. The blonde student, Shin So-ri, giddily introduces himself, admitting he only joined because Kwon Jae-ha did. Ji-eun deadpans, thinking, oh boy, already sensing the challenges of managing a starstruck crew. A student named Cha Jun-seong introduces himself, explaining that he joined because the project concept genuinely interested him. Cha Jun-seong confidently adds that he's ready to give his all to any role he's given. Shin So-ri raises his hand, suggesting they drop the formal speech since their age gap is small. Before Ji-eun can respond, a shadowy figure looms over her, catching her completely off guard. The student in the bucket hat, Choi Woon, introduces himself as an experienced editing major whose class year is older. Relieved, Ji-eun gives him a thumbs up, happy to have his professional experience on board, and moves on. Kwon Jae-ha shyly introduces himself, sweetly stating he joined the project because he likes the director. As Ji-eun hands out materials, she announces that she'll meet with the artist over the weekend to finalize details. After the meeting, Kwon Jae-ha pushes his chair back and looks pointedly in Ji-eun's direction. He leans over her shoulder while she's focused on her papers, smoothly asking if he can tag along. Startled by his sudden closeness, she flushes and agrees that his presence would be great. Ji-eun happily pats his shoulder, sincerely thanking him for helping her assemble such a great team. Ji-eun smiles, confirming their plan to meet the artist in Hongdae on Sunday. Arriving at the destination, they are met with a massive, bustling crowd, prompting the thought, I forgot about this. Overwhelmed by the sheer number of people, Ji-eun is pulled close by Kwon Jae-ha, who puts a protective arm around her. He remarks that he should have brought a car, but she points out that they would have just been stuck in traffic anyway. The scene transitions to the interior of a modern, crowded cafe where they are supposed to meet. A person with black nail polish and a tattooed arm clarifies that they aren't fourth years, but second years from Daehan Arts University. The camera reveals the indie band Waves, consisting of a woman and 3 men seated at a table. The vocalist is formally introduced as Hwang Soo-young, a woman with long black hair and a choker. Ji-eun nervously asks if their student status means the band isn't interested, while Kwon Jae-ha smiles coolly beside her. As they sit down with the band at a long table, a voice calls out, "Hey," breaking the silence. Hwang Soo-young eyes the tattooed band member, noting she heard they were fourth years, and he apologetically says he must have explained poorly. Ji-eun asks if there's a specific reason they need to be fourth years, and Hwang Soo-young replies that it's not a strict requirement. However, Hwang Soo-young emphasizes that experience matters, and she's well aware of their school's reputation. Jean passionately pitches her self-written script, her excellent crew, and proudly presents Kwon Jae-ha as their amazing rookie actor. Kwon Jae-ha confidently adds that they intend to bring a fresh, unique vision to the song's interpretation. The blonde-haired band member expresses some worry despite hearing the concept was fresh, prompting Ji-eun to ask what about. He explains that all of the band's previous music videos have always involved alcohol, cigarettes, or motorcycles. As the tattooed member whispers that Soo-young loves that stuff, she sternly tells them that's enough. Hwang Soo-young states that she wrote the song about the struggles of being in your 20s, but Ji-eun's script changed the focus to teenagers. Ji-eun smiles, assuring the vocalist that she has listened to the song countless times. She explains their reason for choosing teenagers was to create a story that resonates across different age groups. Ji-eun argues that teenage innocence is a struggle itself, and the dialogue will hit home when combined with powerful acting. The band members look contemplative, while Kwon Jae-ha smirks, ready to prove her point. The tattooed man asks for a demonstration, but Hwang Soo-young shuts him down, calling it disrespectful to make an actor perform on the spot. Kwon Jae-ha interjects, deciding to perform since the band seems to doubt their vision. He begins to act, describing a timid protagonist with deep internal conflicts, visualized as a boy wading into a stream. He continues, explaining the protagonist is both wary of and drawn to a reckless female lead. The performance conveys a story of 2 confessions, one of unrequited love and another of wanting to break free. He delivers a poignant line from the script, "Let's just go to the water and watch the waves." Finishing with a serene expression, he embodies a character who has no regrets about the day. Whoosh. The band members are left utterly speechless and captivated by his powerful impromptu performance. The long-haired member removes his sunglasses, admitting it felt like watching a real music video, and that he might be falling for the concept. Whoa! The scene shifts to the city streets at sunset after their successful meeting. Ji-eun walks triumphantly, celebrating how the band's reaction completely changed once they understood the concept would be a hit. Smiling, she tells Kwon Jae-ha not to get too cocky, but admits his acting was genuinely good. A thought bubble reveals her praise was unexpected as they continue walking. Kwon Jae-ha turns to her, asking to be praised, which leaves Ji-eun momentarily confused. He smiles and demonstrates by patting his own head, telling her to praise him like this. Ji-eun laughs and playfully pats his head, thanking him, but he questions her farewell tone. When she says the job is done and she's going home, he grabs her hand and tells her not to leave just yet.
Holding her hand, he observes that she looked nervous earlier and offers to help her relax, inviting her to come with him.
He winks and leads a puzzled Ji-eun into a novelty gift shop. Inside, Ji-eun points at something with a shocked expression, questioning what she's seeing. She proudly holds up a tiny, quirky dragon figurine she found, showing it to a curious Kwon Jae-ha. A montage shows them having fun trying on headbands, with him placing a heart-shaped one on her head before she playfully pushes him away. The fun continues as they end up at a bar for food and drinks. Kwon Jae-ha asks Ji-eun about her drinking limit. She proudly states it's 3 bottles of soju, impressing him. When she asks about his, he claims it's only half a bottle, which she immediately calls fake.
He teases her, reminding her that she looked completely wasted the first time they met, and she gets flustered, blaming it on overthinking.
He presses, asking what she was overthinking, but she averts her gaze, refusing to say. Jian decides they should be clear on the conditions for their fake dating arrangement, which Kwon Jae-ha confirms. She explains a senior is bothering her and hopes that seeing her with him will make them stop. Kwon Jae-ha realizes the goal is for her to appear to be in a stable relationship, which impresses Ji-eun as she takes a drink. Ji-eun gets serious, announcing there are rules for their fake relationship, making him wonder what she means. She declares the primary rule is no kissing or intimate interactions, shocking Kwon Jae-ha. He asks what kind of person she thinks he is, but she counters that they're both young and you never know. She then asks if he has any conditions for her, and he pauses to think. Smirking, Kwon Jae-ha says his only condition is that she remembers it's all an act and doesn't get confused. Ji-eun confidently replies that if she falls for anything, it will be his acting skills, not him. Wham. He pulls her close, saying her confidence just makes him want to test her resolve. Smiling slyly, Ji-eun challenges him to try and seduce her right then and there. He pulls her close again, repeating that her words make him want to put her confidence to the test.
Ji-eun reiterates her challenge, daring him to try and seduce her on the spot.
She inwardly reflects on her desire to figure out Kwon Jae-ha, who always teeters on the edge without crossing the line. He proposes they maintain eye contact from now on, prompting her to ask if he's trying to read her mind. He explains one should use their best weapon, his eyes, which makes her consider focusing the script on emotional acting. He playfully squishes her cheeks, telling her to stop thinking about work and focus on him, and she agrees. Kwon Jae-ha's expression shifts from a sweet, boyish grin to a sharp, knowing smirk. Ji-eun looks on with satisfaction, asking him what he's thinking now, but he remains pensive. She internally cheers, convinced her casting choice was a success, while he thinks to himself that this isn't easy. He asks if he's hard to win over, adding that it's good to keep feelings out of their work. He suddenly drops a bombshell, asking what would happen if he fell for her, leaving her utterly speechless. A close-up shows Kwon Jae-ha's gentle smile as he finishes his thought about falling for her.
He elaborates, telling her that being with her like this is just really fun.
Thump. His confession sends a shockwave through Ji-eun, who clutches her heart, completely flustered. She pats his arm, praising his excellent acting, and he asks if it was convincing. She prepares to post a selfie of them, getting his permission since she's hiding her face from the camera. Both drunk and slumped over the table, Ji-eun complains she's drunk, and Kwon Jae-ha says her name. Looking up drowsily, she asks what's on his mind. He asks if he makes her uncomfortable or scared. She admits he has an intimidating vibe, but reassures him that he's not scary. He expresses relief, confessing that he wants to be a good person, but finds it difficult. She pats his back reassuringly, telling him that from her perspective, he is a good person. Blushing, he admits her words make him not want to go home anymore. She gently taps his foot, sharing that she understands because her aunt gives her a hard time at home. He takes her hands in his, looking at her with a warm, sincere expression. Jen's face lights up with excitement as she enthusiastically asks, "Should we?" She passes out on his shoulder, completely asleep. Kwon Jae-ha gives the sleeping Ji-eun a piggyback ride through the bustling city street at night. While carrying her, he watches another couple walk arm in arm toward a motel. With Ji-eun still asleep on his back, he suggests they go inside, thinking to himself that she's quite something.
He gently places the unconscious Ji-eun onto a bed.
Ji-eun wakes up in an unfamiliar bedroom, asking where she is, while Kwon Jae-ha sits in a nearby chair. He explains he booked a room for comfort, assuring her he'll sleep on the couch. As he starts to move away from the bed, she suddenly grabs his wrist, calling out his name. He leans over her on the bed as she begins to speak, her face flushed. Lying on the bed with a determined look, she finishes her sentence. Want to. He leans in close to her ear and whispers something to her. In the bathroom, she washes her face, complaining about the hassle, while he tells her she'll feel refreshed. Later, a sleeping Ji-eun rests peacefully in bed as a thought bubble with her name, Shim Ji-eun, floats nearby. Kwon Jae-ha lies on the couch, thinking to himself that the whole situation is funny. During a university lecture, the professor calls out, asking if a student named Shim Ji-eun is present. Looking completely drained, Ji-eun raises her hand to confirm she's there, while recalling a comment about how terrible she looks. Internally, she agonizes over her hangover, blaming it on trying wine and wondering if her alcohol tolerance is different from soju. A morning flashback shows her waking up in shock next to Kwon Jae-ha, while in the present, she worries if he got home safely. A blonde-haired person with a pink heart necklace glances over at a distressed Ji-eun from the next row. The blonde-haired person scrolls through their phone, stopping on the selfie of a tipsy Jaeon and Kwon Jae-ha from the previous night. The blonde-haired person ponders while looking at the photo on their phone. The blonde-haired person places a hand on Ji-eun's shoulder and calls her Unnie as she opens a can of juice. Leaning in with a knowing smile, the blonde-haired person bluntly asks Ji-eun if she slept with Jae-ha last night. The shocking question hangs in the air of the quiet classroom, directed at a stunned Ji-eun. Ji-eun does a massive spit take with her drink, completely caught off guard by the question. The blonde-haired person watches her reaction with a smug, satisfied smile. The question is posed again, as the blonde-haired person asks from across the classroom if Ji-eun slept with Jae-ha. The shocking question spreads through the classroom as other students begin whispering amongst themselves. Utterly flabbergasted, Ji-eun freezes with her mouth agape, unable to form a response. The blonde-haired person presses for an answer, while Ji-eun stammers, trying to deny the accusation about her and Jae-ha. Ji-eun's mind races in panic, realizing that any attempt to explain the situation would only sound more unbelievable. A man with dark hair and a ponytail suddenly intervenes, placing a hand on Ji-eun's shoulder and claiming he slept at her place. The blonde-haired person, Min-hui, questions the claim, while Ji-eun quickly agrees and thanks him for the save. The man with the ponytail, now identified as Sori, turns to Min-hui and asks why he would even ask such a thing. Min-hui cheerfully says he was just curious if they were dating and mentions the potential for on-set drama if a couple fights. Ji-eun tiredly agrees with Sori's point, sighing with relief that the immediate crisis has been averted. Ji-eun nervously advises Min-hui to be more careful with his words, and he gives a cheerful okay in response. Sori quietly invites Ji-eun to grab a meal after class, and she agrees. Seated at a cafeteria table, Sori leans forward and bluntly tells a nervous Ji-eun to spill the details. Sori observes that she's sweating as if something happened, but she nervously tries to brush it off. Frozen with anxiety, Ji-eun silently asks herself if her nervousness is that obvious. Ji-eun explains to Sori that she had a band meeting, got too drunk, and stayed at a hotel, swearing nothing happened. Sori remains unconvinced, looking her in the eye and asking if she's absolutely sure nothing happened with Kwon Jae-ha. Ji-eun avoids his gaze, thinking to herself that she needs to sort things out before she can tell him the truth. She tries to play it cool, saying they just got closer, but Sori sternly warns her not to get too close to Kwon Jae-ha. Shocked, Ji-eun asks why, and Sori reveals that he and Kwon Jae-ha attended the same cram school. Sori poses a troubling question. Why would a top talent like Jae-ha take a year off before enrolling in university? A flashback begins, showing a snowy night outside the prestigious Daehan Arts University Theater and Film Department. Sori narrates that their cram school was expanding as his younger self walks down the hall with a camera. Suddenly, a commotion erupts down the crowded hallway, catching his attention. Students gossip about an incident at the emergency stairs, mentioning that Kwon Jae-ha is already on the scene. The flashback reveals a student lying injured at the bottom of a staircase as Kwon Jae-ha kneels beside him. Sori explains that the injured student was considered one of the top 2 prospects in their acting class, along with Jae-ha. A younger, grim-faced Kwon Jae-ha makes a phone call as Sori narrates that they were together when the accident happened. The younger Sori watches in disbelief, wondering how Jae-ha can remain so calm as he learns no one knows exactly how the student fell. Sori explains the injured student had to give up on the exam for rehabilitation, and Jae-ha also took a year off. Sori recalls seeing Kwon Jae-ha walking with another student at the cram school. He remembers wondering how an aspiring actor could wear such an expressionless face. Back in the present, Sori tells Ji-eun that while no one knows for sure if Jae-ha was involved, the incident sparked a lot of rumors. Ji-eun dismisses the rumor that Jae-ha pushed his rival out of jealousy and asks what happened to the injured friend. Sori shows a photo of Jae-ha and the friend, explaining they're still close and that the friend gave up school to work in theater. Sori directly confronts Ji-eun, noting her sparkling eyes when she discusses Jae-ha and asking if she likes him, which she flatly denies. Ji-eun looks pensive, internally concluding that Kwon Jae-ha is a profoundly difficult person to understand. A hazy memory flashes of Kwon Jae-ha, admitting with a blush that he wants to seem like a good person but struggles with it. Sori snaps his fingers, telling a distracted Ji-eun to put her phone down. During a meeting, Sori confirms their first shoot is this week, and Ji-eun cheerfully reports she secured a clean, abandoned school as the location. Ji-eun arrives at a rental office to apply for equipment and is greeted by a man at the counter. The man hands her a form to fill out, which she readily accepts. While filling out the form, Ji-eun resolves to focus on school matters, reminding herself that the filming is the only reason she got involved with Jae-ha. The rental office employee confirms her booking, warning that it's peak season for graduation projects and the date is firm. As she leaves, Kwon Jae-ha rushes past her, muttering that he's in big trouble, leaving her confused. A close-up reveals Kwon Jae-ha's confident, knowing smirk. On Saturday morning, the film crew gathers outside a university building, checking if everyone is ready. Ji-eun looks worried as she glances back while on a phone call. The crew confirms everyone is present and ready to depart, with the blonde-haired Manhwa yawning on a bench. On the phone, a panicked Ji-eun wonders why the instructor isn't answering, as their transport vehicle should be arriving soon. Kwon Jae-ha approaches the concerned Ji-eun and asks if there is a problem. He calmly suggests they wait 15 more minutes and just drive faster later, a suggestion that startles her. The crew discusses the delay, with Sori reminding someone to drive safely, while another student thinks equipment loading is the cause. Ji-eun beams with relief as a white van, presumably theirs, drives by in the background. Minwi points frantically as the van drives away, realizing it might be their car, and someone yells to check the license plate. A crewmate notices the passenger isn't their instructor, but a fourth-year film senior they saw with senior Jeon Dae-young. Kwon Jae-ha immediately recognizes that it must be Dae-young's team, leaving Ji-eun stunned and speechless. A furious shout of, "What did you just say?" echoes as the camera focuses on the school's clock tower. Back at the rental office, the employee tells a distraught Ji-eun that the rental was canceled via message and asks if she blocked the number as spam. Ji-eun denies blocking a school message, while Kwon Jae-ha sternly addresses the employee as instructor. After being questioned about the other team using their van, the employee feigns ignorance and suggests they misread the license plate. Realizing he's stonewalling her, a determined Ji-eun calmly asks when the next rental slot is available. The employee casually suggests maybe next weekend due to peak season, infuriating Ji-eun. The dejected crew sits on a bench, with Ji-eun sighing that today's shoot is officially canceled. Minhui angrily complains that next week is too late and blames Ji-eun for not checking properly. As a crewmate holds Minhui back, Ji-eun apologetically promises to try and secure the equipment by Monday. Sori suggests taking out a loan to rent privately, but a discouraged Jean reminds him how expensive that is. Another crew member offers his dad's old, dirty bongo truck, saying it should be able to carry the equipment. The crew has mixed reactions to the truck idea, ranging from acceptance to Minhui demanding it be washed first. Kwon Jae-ha steps in, offering to cover the rental cost and urging them to hurry and secure equipment. Checking his phone, Jae-ha asks if everyone is free on Monday, having already confirmed no one has class. The team asks if he has an idea, and after a moment on his phone, he announces he's got it. Smiling, Jae-ha shows a text conversation on his phone, announcing that an industry friend agreed to lend them the equipment. Minhui is amazed by Jae-ha's connections, but Ji-eun looks at him skeptically, asking if this is really okay. Jae-ha puts his arm around Ji-eun, playfully stating he just wanted to see her smile, but she mutters that she smiles all the time. Glancing back, Minhui quietly scoffs, noting that she almost never smiles. Minhui gets Ji-eun's attention, holding up a large school uniform from a bag and complaining that it's way too big for him. Touched by everyone's efforts, Ji-eun smiles warmly and agrees to entrust them with the tasks, thanking them all. Jae-ha affectionately ruffles her hair, asking why she tries to handle everything alone and reminding her to lean on the team. Ji-eun looks up at the crew on a balcony, believing that as the director, she's responsible for making sure things are done properly. On the balcony, a different film crew is at work. The director calls cut and announces a 20-minute break. The actor with the yellow cap from the van is seen happily chatting with a woman in a business suit during the break. He approaches the woman, calling her senior Jeon Dae-young and asking if she has a moment. Dae-young turns her attention to Ji-eun, who has now approached her, and states she has something to ask. Da-young coldly asks who Ji-eun is, then recognizes her as the student whose actor she took, while Ji-eun introduces herself. Dismissively, Dae-young says she's about to start filming, but Ji-eun presses, asking for just 5 minutes. Ji-eun gets straight to the point, questioning why Dae-young rented a vehicle when her own shoot is taking place inside the school. Ji-eun accuses her of taking the van on purpose, and Dae-young smirks, correctly guessing it's about Kwon Jae-ha. Dae-young bitterly explains that she and Jae-ha had a promise, but he broke it when he became obsessed with a classmate. As Dae-young walks away, she dismisses Jeon's question about the promise, telling her she doesn't need to know the details. Stopping, Dae-young puts her hands on Ji-eun's shoulders, questioning if she really thinks Jae-ha likes her and claiming it's all an act. Her grip tightens as she warns Ji-eun not to get too close to him, framing it as a well-intentioned warning. Ji-eun flinches, thinking to herself that the grip hurts. Pushing Dae-young's hand away, Ji-eun says she appreciates the advice but needs to discuss the real issue at hand. Holding Dae-young's wrist, Ji-eun firmly states that Jae-ha's personal matters are his own and irrelevant to their current project. Shocked, Dae-young pulls her hand back and scolds Ji-eun for her casual tone, reminding her they will meet again professionally. Turning to leave, Ji-eun explains she's being direct precisely because they'll meet again and expresses admiration for Dae-young's acting. Ji-eun respectfully bows, hoping their future encounters will be more professional. Dae-young is left speechless and stunned as Ji-eun walks away. Suddenly enraged, Dae-young lunges forward and forcefully grabs Jun's shoulder, shouting, "Hey!" Pulled back violently, Ji-eun lets out a pained, "Ugh!" Dae-young yanks Ji-eun's overall strap, pulling her close and demanding she listen before leaving. As her bag drops, Ji-eun thinks she was about to be hit and asks what Dawki means. With an intense glare, Dae-young warns her that while filming is one thing, she must not get into a relationship with Jae-ha. A flustered Ji-eun shouts back that she had no intention of doing so. A memory flashes of Jae-ha intimately asking if she can accept what he's asking for. Back in the present, Jane reminds herself it's just pretend and tells Dae-young that her relationship status isn't her concern. Dae-young taunts Ji-eun, asking how much she really knows about Jae-ha and concluding she knows nothing. Jean stands her ground, declaring that if Jae-ha hasn't told her something himself, she doesn't want to know. Dae-young laughs mockingly, claiming Jae-ha hides anything that could be used against him and will never tell her the truth. Suddenly furious, Dae-young grabs Jen's collar and reveals she was the one who took Jae-ha in and trained him to be an actor. Tightening her grip, Dae-young warns Ji-eun not to taint him, as any past relationship could ruin his promising career. Ji-eun forcefully knocks her hand away, telling Dae-young to stay calm and that she has nothing more to say to her. A nearby film crew watches, wondering if they should intervene in Ji-eun Dae-young's hysteria, while Ji-eun steels herself against the threats. Ji-eun counters coolly, warning that if Dae-young becomes a big star, her own scandals could come back to haunt her too. Dae-young's eye twitches in silent, boiling rage. Running a hand through her hair in frustration, Dae-young issues a final threat about crossing her in the industry. Later, Ji-eun slumps against her apartment door, completely drained and sighing over how much happened in one day. She recalls sitting with the crew at a restaurant earlier, her argument with Dae-young having completely killed her appetite. In the memory, Jae-ha notices her distress and asks if something happened, making the situation even more awkward for her. She had forced a smile, telling him not to worry while internally lamenting her inability to even taste her food. Back in the present, her stomach rumbles loudly as she realizes she's hungry, just as someone calls her name. A woman in a floral apron, her aunt, tells her dinner is ready and that she should eat before going to her room. Seeing the meal, Ji-eun brightens up and asks with a wow if her aunt made curry. Her aunt invites her to eat together, and Ji-eun happily thanks her for the meal over a pot of curry. Ji-eun enjoys the food, thinking that while eating with her aunt is awkward, the curry is delicious. When Ji-eun eagerly asks for more, her aunt passive-aggressively remarks that a girl shouldn't eat so much, or she'll gain weight. Pouting with her cheeks full, Ji-eun thinks to herself that she doesn't even eat that much. Her aunt gets serious, telling Ji-eun that as an adult, she can't take everything in the house for granted. Putting down her chopsticks, the aunt states that while she doesn't expect rent, Ji-eun should show gratitude for the meals and cleaning. Ji-eun starts to protest that she cleans her own room, but her aunt's cold look silences her, and she meekly asks what's a reasonable amount. The aunt suggests 350,000 won should be fair, and tells Ji-eun to eat at home to avoid extra expenses. Resigned, Ji-eun acknowledges that she can't freeload at her aunt's house and reluctantly agrees. After thanking her aunt for the meal, Ji-eun is told to grab some water from the fridge. She opens the fridge and pauses, her expression falling slightly. Inside, she sees a container of leftover curry with a sticky note on it, set aside. As her aunt chides her for wasting electricity, Ji-eun feels a wave of disappointment wash over her. Exhausted at her desk, Ji-eun lays her head down, wondering if her aunt is really acting this way over a single bowl of curry. At her desk, a weary Ji-eun scrolls on her phone, deciding she needs to get another part-time job. Her phone rings. It's Jae-ha asking if she's home, but she struggles to hear him over the noise. At a noisy club, Jae-ha's friend with the silvery hair tells him to keep it down while he's on the phone. He asks if she's free tomorrow night for a beer with his friends, or perhaps just the two of them. As a red-haired woman beside him gets curious, Jae-ha insists he just wants to see her, but Ji-eun politely declines, citing assignments. Jae-ha's voice turns serious as he reminds her about their supposed relationship, questioning why she'd think he wouldn't want to see her. Overwhelmed, Ji-eun simply tells him she's tired and ends the call, urging him to enjoy his night out. She reflects on her recent past, remembering how she used to be completely invisible at school. Recalling an intimate moment with Jae-ha, she questions if their connection has made her lose her sense of reality. Back at the club, the silvery-haired friend needles Jae-ha about getting another girl, earning a sharp rebuke. His friend accuses him of messing with another girl's head, while the red-haired woman questions him about Se. The woman mentions the obsessed young heir of XX Corporation, who used to follow Jae-ha everywhere until her parents sent her away. She explains the girl still posts desperate selfies, but Jae-ha coldly ignores her to protect his budding acting career. Announcing he's bored, Jae-ha gets up to leave as his friends ask if their teasing upset him. Pausing by the exit, he runs a hand through his hair while glancing at his phone before leaving. Leaving the club, he sees couples embracing and thinks to himself that he believed he and Ji-eun were actually getting closer. The chapter concludes with a title card for Best Actor in a Relationship Award. The story shifts to Monday morning, showing the school building in Cheongpyeong County where the crew plans to film. Squeal, a blue van pulls up and parks in front of the school building. The crew unloads, with Sori feeling sick from the ride. Ji-eun teases the senior driver about his surprisingly wild driving. The driver, relieved, admits he was worried about being late and is glad they arrived early. Ji-eun and Min-wei notice the dark clouds, deciding to film their scene quickly before any potential rain starts. The crew member compliments the location choice, and Ji-eun explains it was easy to secure since the school is abandoned. As Ji-eun instructs the actors to change, Sori eagerly announces he brought the costumes. Sori proudly reveals an edgy, punk-inspired uniform, complete with a plaid skirt, asking what they think. Stunned into silence, Ji-eun stares at the outfit and asks what on earth it is. Manhwa and another crewmate are horrified, with one asking, "Are you serious?" and the other muttering, "Oh dear." Sori cheerfully reminds Ji-eun she put him in charge of costumes, privately thinking his creation looks quite good. Ji-eun frantically asks about the costumes she prepared, and Sori sheepishly admits he left them behind. Imagining how great the punk outfits will look on the actors, Sori continues to insist they just need to try them on. A jarring flashback shows someone bluntly asking a girl if she slept with Jae-ha, causing another to spit out her drink. Sori, undeterred, continues to enthusiastically urge someone to just try on his custom outfit. As a frustrated Jae-ha looks on, Ji-eun turns to Sori and asks if this is how he handles all his projects. Startled, Sori asks what she means, and Ji-eun bluntly tells him the outfit doesn't fit their concept whatsoever. Holding the correct costume, Ji-eun confronts Sori directly, questioning if he even read the script or looked at her presentation. Offended, Sori defensively retorts that of course he did, asking if she thinks he's unprofessional. Her patience finally snapping, Ji-eun accuses him of acting like he's deliberately trying to sabotage the project. Sori pushes back, calling her harsh and deflecting blame by claiming the director also shares responsibility. Turning to the others, Sori defensively asks if it's really all his fault, seeking validation. Ji-eun concedes she should have double-checked, but expresses her disappointment, telling Sori she had trusted him as a teammate. Visibly hurt, Sori shouts her name and warns that he's about to cry if she continues. Jae-ha intervenes, dryly asking Sori if he's serious and pointing out there's no one there to coddle him. With a cold smile, Jae-ha adds a cutting remark, seemingly mocking Sori's lack of preparedness or support. Frustrated and defeated, Sori declares he quits and begins to walk off the set. The crewmate with glasses stops him, grabbing his arm and urgently reminding him they still need to shoot today. The scene transitions, showing the exterior of a small, local dry cleaning shop. A bell chimes as the crew enters, and an elderly shop owner looks up to greet them. Ji-eun cheerfully explains to the intrigued owner that they're shooting a music video comparing it to a movie. Leaning in, Ji-eun shouts that they need school uniforms, and the hard-of-hearing owner confirms her request. The owner explains that since the school has been closed for some time, he's unsure if any uniforms were ever left behind. The elderly shop owner shows the crew into a cluttered storeroom, warning he can't guarantee anything as they look on in amazement. He gestures to a massive pile of clothes, explaining he hasn't had the strength to clean and inviting them to search. Sori nervously asks Ji-eun if they will really find anything, admitting he is not good at searching while Jae-ha looks skeptical. Minwi tells Ji-eun they have no choice but to do it, and Ji-eun resolutely ties up her hair. With fiery determination, Ji-eun rallies the team, vowing to find 3 uniform sets and return to the school. Back at the school, Sori, now with blonde hair, crouches dejectedly in the pouring rain. A boy with green hair approaches, asking what's wrong. Sori explains that Ji-eun told him to stay behind because she was worried. Sori complains that he can't possibly film now because his eyes are far too swollen from crying. The green-haired boy offers him an ice cream, which Sori refuses before threatening to eat the whole thing if it melts. The green-haired boy kindly holds an umbrella over Sori, who remains crouched against the wall in the rain. Meanwhile, back in the storeroom, Minwi praises Ji-eun for finding the uniforms, and she urges them to quickly check for mold. As they leave, Ji-eun promises the owner they will show him the finished project. He asked them to take care of the location, revealing it was his old school. Touched by his words, Ji-eun smiles warmly. Drip, drip. The crew trudges back through the pouring rain. Sharing an umbrella with Sori, Ji-eun laments that while the costume issue is fixed, the weather will force them to shoot indoors. Jae-ha stands apart from the group, letting the rain soak him as he declares he's ready to act in it. In the school hallway, Minwi prepares the camera, as Ji-eun consults her clipboard for her film, Water's Edge. She explains that her movie is about 3 troubled teenagers navigating the pressures of a sweltering monsoon season. Her storyboard shows a lonely student gazing out a window, illustrating the film's theme of rebellion and liberation. Another scene depicts a character trapped by academics, longing to escape their confined world. The crew begins filming, with Minwi capturing Jae-ha's performance in the rain as Ji-eun directs from a tablet. In a flashback, a crew member questions Jae-ha's decision to act in the rain for the scene. Jae-ha explains it was his suggestion, musing that if he were the protagonist, he'd want to cry in the rain. He elaborates that the characters have never been able to express their anger, and Ji-eun listens, captivated. Soaked and in character, Jae-ha delivers a powerful performance, wiping a tear from his eye. Ji-eun watches from behind the camera, stunned and impressed by his emotional depth. In the van ride back, Ji-eun watches a sleeping Sori as Minwi drives, remarking how cool it was, before Jae-ha calls her name. Leaning on her shoulder, Jae-ha asks her to raise her arms for a moment. Wah! He wraps his arm around her, asking if he can lean on her until they get there. Ji-eun shyly agrees, thinking to herself how strange the sudden intimacy feels. As he rests his head on her shoulder, she notices the unfamiliar scent of his shampoo. He closes his eyes, drifting off to sleep against her. Looking down at their now interlocked hands, Ji-eun thinks that holding hands for a little while wouldn't be so bad. Back on campus, Ji-eun is on the phone, clarifying that her relationship with Jae-ha isn't real and is just for the competition. She explains she's staying at school for a week to enter the Daehan Youth Screenwriting Contest, surprising her friend on the line. When asked why, she smiles mischievously and reveals her motivation: the prize money. A vision of trophies and a 200 million won grand prize flashes, which also includes a chance to have the winning script produced. Over a headset, Minhui marvels at the prize, dreaming about how even a smaller prize would cover his apartment deposit and student loans. The scene shifts to a grim depiction of the school lounge, littered with exhausted students sleeping everywhere during finals week. Ah Jian trips over something in the dark and screams in shock. She's tripped over a sleeping student who grumbles at her to be quiet. Ji-in is horrified to realize she's looking at a vision of her future, exhausted self. Back in the present, Jian enters the tense lounge and notices a girl in a Fila shirt glaring at her. As another student leaves, the girl in the Fila shirt wonders what's going on, sensing the weird atmosphere in the room. Ji-in also feels the tension, but realizes she's not close enough to anyone to ask about it. As Jiyeon approaches a cot, the girl in the Fila shirt confronts her, coldly stating, "That's my spot." The girl tells Jiyeon to sleep on the floor since she claimed the pillow first, leaving Jiyeon stunned by her childishness. Identifying her as Shim Ji-eun, the girl advises her to stop letting her classmates take the blame and to apologize to the seniors. A senior with yellow-streaked hair and a varsity jacket coolly intervenes, asking the girl why she's causing a scene in the directing department. The senior smugly tells the girl not to suck up to the fourth years, reminding her that debut order is everything, which she furiously denies. He sits on the bed and mockingly offers her advice too, pointing out that she was just acting as if she were Shim Ji-eun herself. Wham! The senior with the varsity jacket slaps the dusty bed, remarking it probably hasn't been washed in a decade and will give them acne. A shocked girl with glasses demands to know what he said, as another student advises them not to fight because of the brutal contest deadline. Turning back with a smug look, the senior calls out to Jiyeon, who asks him what he wants. Ji-eun asks him what happened, and he explains a fourth-year director stormed in, yelling about a stolen actor, which sparked the whole rumor. He continues, describing how the senior screamed for Shim Ji-eun, and that the girl with the glasses defended her, likely out of fear of the upperclassmen. The senior cheerfully notes the issue was settled since Jean wasn't there, leading her to realize Dae-young must have started the rumor. He points out that she's now on Jeon Dae-young's bad side, leaving Jiyeon stunned that he knows about their conflict. Smiling slyly and questioning his own age, the senior casually asks Jiyeon if she wants to be friends. Surprised, Jeon asks why, and he explains he liked her project and appreciates talented students, causing her to awkwardly laugh that he sounds like a professor. Introducing himself as a second year named Park Young-won, he playfully suggests that they, as fellow outcasts, should stick together. Park Young-won warmly repeats his offer to be friends, smiling with his eyes closed. As they shake hands, he asks about the genre for her competition script. She reveals she's mixing noir and black comedy. Park Young-won expresses surprise, having assumed she'd write romance, while Jiyeon nervously feels how strong his grip is. Still holding her hand, he mentions he's also writing a noir script and offers to share his draft, but she shyly asks him to let go.
He releases her hand, calling her cute and teasing her about her tiny hands writing a script, which flusters her.
Mortified, Jiyeon tells him to stop, thinking he's incredibly annoying, while he privately delights in her priceless reaction. The topic shifts to a cursed theater room where, according to rumor, performers always suffer bad luck or injuries on stage. A visibly frightened Ji-eun asks if the rumor is true, and Park Young-won confirms it, admitting her spooked face is priceless. He coolly walks away, wishing her luck and offering to treat her to food if she gets hungry working late. Later, John approaches a group with a box of donuts, apologizing for interrupting their work and offering them a snack. The lukewarm response leaves her feeling so awkward that she comically tears up in frustration. Dejected, Ji-eun sits alone on a campus bench, scrolling through her phone. While eating a sandwich, she notes that Min Wei is on break and Kwon Jae-ha is absent from school today. She glances up from her bench and sees her former crewmate, the blonde-haired Sori, walking with a group of friends. Sori's friends discuss their plans, confirming with him that their reservations are for 4 people only. As his friends walk on, Sori parts from the group, leaving Ji-eun watching from her lonely bench. Sori sits on the far end of the same bench, and while Ji-eun feels the awkwardness, he thinks they should just make up. Sori moves closer and asks to sit there, prompting Ji-eun to wonder why he chose this spot when so many others are free. Seeing him unwrap a small snack, Ji-eun asks if it's his lunch. He defensively tells her to mind her own business. Annoyed by his hostile attitude, Ji-eun clenches her fists, wondering how to deal with the tense atmosphere between them. A boy with brown hair arrives carrying a stacked lunchbox and asks if the two of them are eating together. Sori looks up from his snack, completely unamused by the unexpected interruption. The newcomer jokes that it's a loners gathering. John agrees she is one, but Sori quickly retorts that he is not. When Ji-eun asks if he always brings his lunch, the boy opens his container to reveal a homemade stew, explaining he's using up leftovers. Impressed, Ji-eun compliments his cooking skills, but he humbly dismisses it as nothing special, much to Sori's indifference. Ji-eun excitedly asks for a bite, and the boy agrees, noting it's too much for one person and that the only flaw is the instant rice. She asks what's wrong with instant rice, and he earnestly explains that he simply takes great pride in his rice, which she finds funny. After one bite, Ji-eun declares the food tastes like pure happiness, which makes the boy smile, glad she enjoys it. Seeing her reaction, Sori eagerly starts eating the food as well, causing Jian to think he's easy to read. Sori teases Ji-eun about her relationship with Jaha not being official yet, and she defensively calls it just a fling. Elsewhere, students discuss Jaha's absence, mentioning he's away because of his father's work related to local elections. Finishing her last class, a happy Ji-eun looks forward to her free day tomorrow, planning to focus on the competition tonight. The box of donuts sits on a desk, a silent reminder of her earlier attempt to connect with her peers. In a storeroom, the boy who shared his lunch appears and asks Ji-eun if she skipped class, but she says something else is more important. As the feeling of unease grows, the boy gently cups Ji-eun's face, asking if she is okay. He takes her hand with a knowing smile, remarking that he thought he was the only one who knew about this place. Now sitting together in the practice room, he mentions students avoided due to a rumor about a suicide, and a worried Ji-eun asks if it's true. He teases her for being brave, noting how scary it would be if the rumor were true, which makes her jump and tell him to stop. Ji-eun admits she's terrified of scary things, prompting him to slyly suggest she move a little closer. He puts his arm around her, promising to take the lead and tell her the full story behind the rumor before she gets too scared. He remembers a woman on a brightly lit stage, whom he calls the most brilliant person he's ever known. In the memory, the boy holds her hand, thinking that even as a child, he knew he wanted to be an actor. Back in the present, Jin gasps in shock, asking if the person from the rumor is still alive, and the boy confirms she is. Ji-eun asks if the woman is still acting. He confirms, but keeps her identity secret, leaving Ji-eun to wonder why she'd attempt suicide. He explains that he sometimes comes to this room to ponder the kind of pride that could drive someone to such desperation. Later, as they lie on mats, he asks about her competition script, and she admits she's not even halfway done. Ji-eun happily tells him that some returning classmates offered to help, expressing relief that she won't be alone. He playfully teases her, asking if the helpful classmate is a guy, and she coyly asks if it would bother him. He smiles, admitting he was going to pretend to be jealous, but she notes that he doesn't seem like the jealous type. Suddenly, sitting up, Ji-eun notices something on his head and urgently points out his forehead. He grabs her hand, dismissing her concern as nothing, but she presses him, asking how the injury happened.
Whoosh! She impulsively leans over him to get a better look, surprising herself with her forwardness.
A bruise is visible on his forehead as he smiles and asks if his injury bothers her. Jel-in explains that of course it bothers her because of their upcoming shoot, quickly adding it's just a director's concern. As she leans in close, she worries about meddling too much, while he asks if he needs to do something for her. She tries to set boundaries, saying anything is fine as long as it's not kissing or sleeping together, but he interrupts her. He pulls her into an embrace, telling her to hold on and just stay like this for a little while. Held tightly against his chest, a blushing Ji-eun asks what this has to do with his bruise, and he calmly reassures her it's fine. He closes his eyes and jokingly claims that hugging will make the bruise heal faster, which she thinks is complete nonsense. The camera focuses on their embrace, his hands holding her securely against him. As she rests in his arms, Ji-eun reflects that in moments like this, he seems just as lonely as she is. The next morning, Ji-eun brushes her teeth, thinking to herself that she must have lost her mind the night before.
The boy playfully teases her about sleeping so soundly in his arms, causing a flustered Ji-eun to insist she was just very tired.
He gently cups her face, agreeing to stop teasing and suggests they go out for brunch. As he puts his arm around her, she shyly agrees to go with him. When he asks what she wants for brunch, she suddenly jumps away, saying anything is fine. He moves closer, asking why she's suddenly keeping her distance, as she looks away nervously. Park Young-won suddenly appears, casually throwing his arm around Ji-eun and asking where she was yesterday. She stammers that she was in the lounge. Park Young-won invites her to lunch and asks about her script, prompting Ji-eun to explain she's only halfway done and is already with someone. Turning to the boy, Park Young-won asks if he's the famous person he's heard about, teasingly questioning if he's Jean's boyfriend, as she frantically denies it. Ji-eun clarifies that he's just a friend from a project, and the boy looks down, hurt, repeating the word friend to himself. The scene shifts to a delicious-looking brunch spread, sparkling with promise. Ji-eun hesitates, a worried expression on her face as she thinks to herself, but the three of them sit at brunch, with Park Young-won chatting away, while Ji-eun and the boy look uncomfortable. The boy forces a polite smile, simply replying, "Oh really?" to whatever Park Young-won said. An overhead view shows an awkward meal, with a bored-looking Park Young-won resting his head on his hand. In a flashback to Ji-eun's words, the boy looks visibly hurt and confused by being called just a friend. Park Young-won pats a disgruntled Ji-eun on the head, cheerfully suggesting they eat together for unity as art students. The scene shifts to a romantic fantasy, where the boy leans in close to Ji-eun, asking if they have serious feelings for each other. Embarrassed, Ji-eun reminds herself she almost forgot their situation and that this is all just acting romantic. Putting on a show for Park Young-won, Ji-eun links arms with the boy, declaring he's a friend she really likes, despite feeling awkward. Park Young-won playfully gets between them, asking if he should expect good news about their relationship soon. The boy plays along, smiling coolly at Park Young-won and saying he wouldn't want to reveal everything at their first meeting. While Park Young-won reacts with over-the-top excitement, blushing and declaring that their dynamic is insane. Outside, Park Young-won explains that his parents bought his fancy car for him, though he pays for the maintenance himself. Ji-eun compliments the car's clean smell, and Park Young-won explains it's because he doesn't smoke inside, making her feel embarrassed. While driving, the boy mentions he heard Park Young-won is the classmate who got close to Ji-eun, surprising Park Young-won. Park Young-won leans forward eagerly, asking if he's now officially a close classmate, but Ji-eun tells him not to push it. The scene transitions to an elegant, warmly lit cafe interior. At brunch, Park Young-won raves about the salt bread while the boy encourages Ji-eun to eat more, and she suggests they get some to go. At brunch, Ji-eun questions the exorbitant price of a salad, and one of the boys confirms he eats like this sometimes. Ji-eun privately notes how different rich kids are, thinking Park Young-won can be casually rude. Ji-eun observes that Kwon Jae-ha, in contrast, seems to enjoy the lavishness, wishing she had a rich sibling. As the two men exchange veiled remarks, Ji-eun feels like she's watching an invisible, high-stakes sword fight between them. Changing the subject, Jae-ha asks Park Young-won about his long leave of absence from school. Park Young-won explains that he was busy working as an assistant screenwriter and also serving in the military. Park Young-won then turns to Jae-ha, teasingly asking when he plans to do his own mandatory military service. Jae-ha's interest is piqued by the screenwriting mention, and he remarks that Park Young-won's name sounds familiar. Park Young-won proudly reveals that his older brother is the famous director Park Young-chun, and that he helped with script revisions. What? Ji-eun is stunned into silence, shocked by the revelation. A memory flashes of a gritty movie poster for a film titled Crime Zone. She recalls the film was directed by Park Young-chan, who won a Best Director award at a film festival 2 years prior. Ji-eun also remembers that the university had tried and failed to hire the acclaimed young director as a professor. Mortified by her earlier behavior, Ji-eun now feels an intense desire to read a script written by the famous director's sibling. Park Young-won humbly remarks that he would have debuted already if he were better than his brother, while Ji-eun puzzles over his name. When Ji-eun asks Jae-ha if he knows the director, he confirms that they met at his mother's agency party. Annoyed, Park Young-won states that his brother rarely mentions him and quickly suggests they leave to work on their projects. Outside by a nice blue car, Park Young-won stops Jae-ha, telling him he has something to ask. Park Young-won directly asks Jae-ha if he really likes Ji-eun, to which Jae-ha confidently replies, "Of course." Park Young-won trails off with a menacing smile, leaving his true intentions unclear. Jae-ha asserts his confidence, claiming that he probably knows Ji-eun better than Park Young-won does. Jae-ha confronts him, asking if he knew Ji-eun was being ostracized because of him. Park Young-won admits he was aware. Park Young-won mutters that Jeon Da-young must have spread the rumors, but seems to feel a bit conflicted. Jae-ha smugly tells him he won't be able to fix the situation, and that he should just leave it alone. Later, Ji-eun thanks Park Young-won at a vending machine, telling him his help broke her writer's block on a scene. Ji-eun worries that her feedback might have been too harsh, and asks if he's upset, but he seems unconcerned. Recalling how he bluntly criticized one of her lines, Ji-eun decides to rewrite the section he helped with herself. She insists that it's her work to finish, and he sarcastically encourages her to go win the grand prize. As they prepare to leave the empty school building late at night, she confirms she's finally heading home. He suddenly offers to walk her home, which catches her off guard, and she asks him why. He casually says it's dark, but she feels that giving him her address is too forward, even if they've gotten closer. Politely refusing, Ji-yeon tells him he must be tired, and that she appreciates his help, leaving him speechless. Leaning closer with a serious expression, he asks if her refusal is because his age makes her uncomfortable. His sudden intensity and closeness leave Ji-yeon looking visibly shocked and anxious. Seeing her reaction, he seems surprised and can only mutter a confused, "Huh?" Ji-yeon quickly backpedals, explaining she's just worried he spent all his time helping her instead of doing his own work. She adds that she'd feel bad relying on him so much, though she's still rattled by the tense atmosphere he created. He smiles, remarking that she's hard to read just when he thought they were getting closer, and agrees to go home. Ji-yeon gratefully thanks him and promises to buy him a meal next week to show her appreciation. Just as he turns to leave, he abruptly grabs her hand, stopping her in her tracks. Startled, she wonders what he's doing and questions why he's bringing up the upcoming weekend. He invites her to a gathering with his movie critic sister and production company friends, leaving her to ask if she's allowed. He reveals the gathering is hosted by the famous critic Seon Soo-min, making Ji-yeon's eyes widen in shock. He tells her the details, Saturday at 3 p.m. in Hanam-dong, and promises to text her the exact cafe location. Ding! As she receives his message, Ji-yeon can't shake the feeling that he's being almost too nice to her. On the day of the meeting, Ji-yeon finds herself trudging up a steep hill toward the cafe's location. Exhausted and checking his concerned text, she grimaces, regretting that she didn't just take a taxi. Finally, at the entrance, she takes a breath and nervously says hello as she walks inside. Park Young-won immediately spots her and enthusiastically waves her over to a table with him and a few other people. Ji-yeon is starstruck as she's greeted by the renowned critic Seon Soo-min and nervously introduces herself as Young-won's classmate. A woman from Young Studio teases Young-won about being formal with Ji-yeon, introducing herself and her male colleague. Ji-yeon gushes that Young Studio is her dream, impressing Park Young-won with her knowledge of their film releases. The woman from Young Studio asks about another student from Daehan Arts University, and Ji-yeon confirms Kwon Jae-ha is her friend. The woman remarks that Jae-ha's mother is sharp, questioning his choice of friends, while the man in the beanie expresses surprise he even went into acting. The man continues, surprised that Assemblyman Kwon allowed his son to act, leaving Ji-yeon feeling awkward about them gossiping in front of his friend. Seon Soo-min tells Ji-yeon that Young-won has been bragging about her and asks her to pitch her script for the screenwriting contest. Ji-yeon nervously explains her script is still a work in progress, and Park Young-won teases her for not being very bold. The man in the beanie and the woman from Young Studio add to the pressure, mentioning that a judge and an executive are present who might buy her script. Realizing this is a huge opportunity, Joan begins her pitch for a short drama titled The Story of Salvation and Goodwill. She sets the scene of a mother whose world shatters when her son is kidnapped from their home by a lighthouse. The story, she explains, revolves around the mother's dilemma, as she's forced to choose between her past and the criminal underworld. Park Young-won pats her shoulder, praising the premise for its focus on co-parenting emotions over simple romance. He smirks, claiming he'd have to read the script to be sure, but laments that doing so would be unfair to the judging process. Seon Soo-min bluntly tells her to change the outdated title, while the man in the beanie says he looks forward to the synopsis. Flustered, Jun stands awkwardly, thinking to herself that she had planned to talk about movies, not pitch her own work. She composes herself, deciding to frame this unexpected turn as a better opportunity and to be satisfied with it. Ji-yeon gets up to leave, politely apologizing and explaining that she has another appointment. Surprised, Park Young-won asks if she's leaving already. As she explains it's a filming team gathering, he asks for her number. Seon Soo-min offers Ji-yeon future premiere tickets as they exchange numbers, with Ji-yeon pointing out a missed call is from her. Ji-yeon bows goodbye, wishing the group a good evening as they wave her off. After she leaves, Park Young-won asks for Seon Soo-min's opinion on the script, and she dismissively calls it cute. Seon Soo-min chides Park Young-won, reminding him that he also needs to write something for the contest if he wants it reviewed. Seon Soo-min then questions if Ji-eun is really his type, but he coolly replies that a man's preferences can change. The man in the beanie praises Jeon Dae-young's perfect body and wonders aloud if she's landed a feature film role yet. Seon Soo-min's tone turns sharp as she confronts Park Young-won, telling him to stop living in her shadow and asking if he isn't embarrassed. Looking down, a chastened Park Young-won quietly accepts her criticism, simply saying, "Got it." Later, Ji-yeon trudges through a busy street, sighing that the neighborhood is far and wondering if she has enough energy to drink. Despite her fatigue, she feels a surge of pride. Excited to tell her friend she met the famous critic, Seon Soo-min, her happy thought is cut short as she spots a familiar-looking man embracing a woman across the street at a cafe. Her eyes widen in stunned disbelief as she recognizes the man in the intimate embrace.